All right. We are 1 month into the college football season. 1 month, 4 games. That's enough of a sample size to really start to decide and realize who teams are. Right? So I want to debut the first ever Ryan Hickey poll and give you the top 5 college football teams right now through the first month of the season. Because for me, unlike the AP poll, I am going based on how teams have looked and who they have played. Which is how, frankly, every poll should be done every single year. It should be just about that season. But I think so far through the first month, the AP poll has allowed too much previous success from different seasons to bleed into this year's poll. So the Ryan Hickey poll, again, is all about how your team is playing so far through the first month and who they have played. All right, I'll give you my top 5. Let's start at number 1. The best team in college football so far, in my opinion, through the first month has been, drumroll please, Ohio State. Ohio State is number 1, followed by Oregon at 2, Washington 3, Texas coming in at 4, and Florida State at number 5. No Georgia, no Michigan. I'll explain them in a second here, but at least to give you my rationale for the top 5 in that order, here it is. Ohio State has the best resume of any college football team through the first month of the season. They just last week got a top 10 road win at Notre Dame. I don't care that it was ugly. I don't care that, frankly, they didn't really exude a lot of confidence coming out of that game. Like, I still look in the Big Ten overall. I still think Penn State's going to beat Ohio State. I still think Michigan's going to beat Ohio State. I don't think Ohio State is the best team in the Big Ten. But so far in this poll, through the first month, they have the best win of any team in college football on the road at number 9, Notre Dame. You also have a conference road win as well over Indiana. They, to me, have the best resume in college football. And so even though there was not a lot of style points when it came to beating the Irish, they won the game. And last time I checked, as Herm Edwards said, you play to win the game. I'm not going to penalize them for winning a top 10 road game because it was ugly. Because it wasn't sexy, quote unquote. They won. They deserve the credit through 4 weeks. Again, this is not a projection. I'm not telling you Ohio State's winning the national title or is going to finish number 1 at the end of the season. This is strictly through the first 4 weeks. Who has been the best team so far in the sport? For me, it's Ohio State. Buckeyes are number 1, followed by Oregon at number 2. You look at the Ducks. They have been one of the most consistently dominant offensive teams in the country. Bo Nix has been tremendous. I love the Heisman campaign. Bodacious. He has lived up to everything so far coming back this season for the Ducks. He's been tremendous with his arm. He's been great with his legs. The Oregon offense has shown you multiple ways they can beat you in the air, on the ground. Defense has been really good, fast, ferocious, physical. They have a nice win over Colorado. Actually, a really nice win over a ranked Colorado team, thrashing them 42-6. A win over a Power 5 opponent in Texas Tech on the road. So they have, again, right now, so far, solid resume, but they have been clicking, especially on offense, to where they, to me, have been one of the more consistent teams. That's going to be a theme of this poll, consistent. They have played really good so far for basically the entirety of the month. That's why, to me, they are number 2. And their strength of schedule is why they are ahead of fellow Pac-12 foe Washington. Washington, outside of USC, has been the most exciting and explosive offense in the country. Michael Penix Jr. is a blast to watch. If you've not had a chance to watch him yet, I could not suggest more. Whether it's at night, get a little coffee. You know, they play Oregon in a few weeks. That's going to be a nationally televised game, so get ready for that. But find a way in the next few weeks, if you haven't yet already, to watch Michael Penix Jr., watch what I would say right now through the first month has been the best wide receiver room in college football, and watch this explosive, fun Huskies offense go to work. The only reason why they're not number 1 or number 2 in my poll is because their strength of schedule is terrible. Michigan State's awful. Boise State right now is probably, it is their best win so far of the early season. Cal's not very good. So they don't have the win over a ranked Colorado team like Oregon does, or a win over a ranked Notre Dame team on the road like Ohio State does. Otherwise, Washington has been one of the most consistent teams and one of the most explosive teams in college football through the first month. That is why they are number 3 in my poll. They've been a joy, a blast to watch. Texas comes in at number 4. Great road win over Alabama. When Alabama was a top 5 team, Tuscaloosa is a really hard place. To win. Alabama was, I think off the top of my head, was 52-1 in their last 53 home games at Bryant-Denny Stadium before, again, the Longhorns went in there and won. So really good win. The reason why Texas, even though they have a better strength of schedule by beating Alabama in a more impressive win than Washington has or even Oregon has, the reason why Texas is behind both those Pac-12 teams is because they've been too much of a roller coaster in the month of September. The Rice game, not great, did not instill a lot of confidence. Now, people have argued and made a good point that, they were not putting anything on tape. They were saving a lot for Alabama in week number 2. And they won that game, so I'll give them credit for it. They played well. That Rice game will throw out. But you look at the next week after you beat Alabama. You're at home in the fourth quarter against Wyoming, and the score is 10-10. Tied in the fourth quarter at home against Wyoming. Can't have that. Cannot have that. Been a little bit of a roller coaster up and down so far, Texas has, through the first 4 weeks of the season. Again, really impressive win in Alabama. Dominated Baylor last week. Solid resume. Top 5 team in my poll. Just right now behind Oregon, Washington, and Ohio State, because they've been a little too up and down for my liking so far. 5th, and finally, it is Florida State. Now, I will say, late switcheroo. I did have Utah here at number 5 because the fact that they were undefeated without Cam Rising I think is very impressive. But the Utes on Friday night did get upset by number 19 Oregon State in that one. So that, with the first loss of the season, did drop the Utes out of my top 5. So Florida State does rise up. Here's my thing with Florida State. They have a good resume on paper, right? Win over LSU with a neutral site game when LSU was number 5 in the country preseason. Win over Clemson on the road. Their resume looks better than it really is. Their resume, I think, makes Florida State so far look better than they are. LSU is not a bad team, but are they the world beaters? Are they the college football playoff contender? Are they the national title contender? A lot of people, including myself, thought before the season. I think so far through 4 games, the answer is no. The answer is no. LSU is not as good as I thought they would be. They've not played particularly well, especially last week against Arkansas. And so they've been a little bit up and down. And they have not been, again, that's not one of those games where you point to week number 1 and say, oh, well, they just got, boat raced by Florida State. Florida State's a really good team. But here's LSU taking every team to the woodshed after that. Haven't been able to do that since that game. And you look at Florida State, narrow escape against Boston College 2 weeks ago, in which they needed some luck to get out of that one. Narrow escape against Clemson, in which they needed a lot of luck to get through that one, where you had a strip sack to tie the game. You needed a missed 29-yard field goal, and Dabo Swinney completely making every possible wrong decision in order to sabotage his own team at the end of the game to put them in a tough spot to win. They needed all of that to go their way in order to win the game, escape Death Valley, and still remain 4-0. Florida State's playing a dangerous game. They're playing a dangerous game in the sense that they can really only win one way, and that scares me. They can only win by passing the ball. That's it. They can't rely on their run game to bail them out. They can't rely on their defense to bail them out. I don't like the fact that this team is so top-heavy. is so one-dimensional. They have a good quarterback in Jordan Travis. Keon Coleman leads a really solid receiver group, so it's not like they have no talent there. Don't get me wrong, they do. But I just don't like the fact that right now we're looking at a Florida State team that, since that impressive LSU win, has gone backwards. LSU has gone backwards. So that win is starting to look less and less impressive. But Florida State, even though they haven't lost, they've been going backwards. And the way they're playing, I can't sit here, even though the ACC schedule the rest of the way is not very daunting or challenging, I can't sit here and tell you they're running the table and going undefeated in the ACC. I can't sit here and tell you that come conference championship weekend, we're talking about a 12-0 team trying to be 13-0. I think they're losing at least one game. And because their strength of schedule is not going to be as strong as other teams in the Big Ten and the Pac-12, I don't think Florida State's a lock whatsoever to make the college football playoff if they're sitting there at 12-1. I don't. So LSU, I keep saying LSU, Florida State, they're flirting. They're flirting too close to danger for my liking to be right now one of those teams that you feel really good about. But again, in my poll, to their credit, LSU is a better win right now than anything Georgia has or Michigan has. Clemson, same thing. So their resume, even though I'm still skeptical of it, I'm still skeptical about how well-rounded Florida State can be, still for right now through the first month, they are 5th on my Ryan Hickey first month of September college football poll. So Ohio State 1, Oregon 2, Washington 3, Texas 4, Florida State 5. I want to ask you this question here at 855-212-4227. Who has been through the first month of the season the best college football team in the country? You may notice in my poll, no Georgia, no Michigan. That's because they haven't earned it. Like, what has Georgia done through the first month that tells you right now they are a top 5 team? I don't want to hear about their national title last year or the year before that. That's irrelevant when it comes to 2023. Because last time I checked, a lot of those players that won in 2021 and 2022 are not on the roster here in 2023. A lot have gone to the NFL. Their 21-game win streak has no bearing about how, well they've played so far through the first 4 weeks. They're down 14-3 at halftime at home against South Carolina. You won the game. That should have been a team you blew out. You're 4 touchdown favorites. And the other 3 games they have played UAB, Ball State, UT Martin. Georgia has not dominated all 4 opponents the way you think they should. And they've not played anyone of substance that has me thinking, that's an impressive win. That has them in the top 5. That's a better resume builder than any of the other teams we listed in the top 5. Maybe outside of Washington, maybe. All the other 4 teams, or every other team, I should say, easily has a better win, arguably 2, over Georgia compared to the dog schedule. But the reason why Washington is in and Georgia's not is Washington has been consistently dominant. Consistently dominant every game they played. Georgia's not been. And so past experiences, past success has no impact on my 2023 poll. It's about this year and this year only. And so far through 4 games, I have not been that impressed with Georgia. I have not been that impressed with Michigan. Again, they played nobody. Similar to Georgia. It's been East Carolina, Bowling Green, Rutgers, and another bad team thrown in there as well. You're playing no one, so you have no chance to impress. You are closer than you should have been at home at halftime against Bowling Green. Closer than you should have been in the first half against Rutgers last week. So again, you're not playing great competition, but then you're also not dominating them from the first, play of the game and leaving no doubt right away. Georgia, there was some doubt. Michigan has played with some doubt this year. So for me, no impressive win, no consistent high level of play, not good enough right now to be in my top 5. So Ohio State 1, Oregon 2, Washington 3, Texas 4, Florida State 5. Those, to me, are the 5 best college football teams so far through the month of September because they have the resumes and they have the consistency.